Today on the Agents to Owners podcast, I have Melissa Stallings with Stallings Insurance Agency out of Douglasville, Georgia. Melissa started the agency in 2008. It is a women owned and all women operated insurance agency. And I didn't know Melissa previous to this. I first recognized her on LinkedIn from their team's super fun TikTok videos, and so I was entertained by those. And then but something else that drew me to them was that they have a consistent they consistently post about giving back to the community. So Melissa was somebody that I wanted to connect with, so I asked her to come on to her podcast, and she graciously agreed. And here she is. So welcome to the show, Melissa Stallings.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So, like we do with all of our guests, why don't you take us back from the beginning and tell us how you got into the insurance space and bring us up to now?
So, I thought I'd throw in something funny here. It started in 1979 when I was born. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go that far. So, I actually am biomedical science and Spanish majors
Okay.
from Auburn University, War Eagle. Um, my senior year, my dad passed away, and I was the only one of four children that had the ability to move home with mom. And prior to that, my junior year, I started shadowing doctors and was like, I love studying this, but oh God, I do not, you're sick, you're hurt, you're dying. I cannot emotionally detach from that.
Yeah.
And as a doctor, you have to, not emotionally detach, but you have to be able to separate the two. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I dreaded going in the hospital, the smells,
Mm,
all the things. I loved looking at it on paper. I think the human body is absolutely amazing and a miracle, but couldn't do it.
yeah.
Was minoring in Spanish because I love Spanish. I say this is a white tattoo because I'm part Hispanic. I'm really not,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
but that culture just resonates with me a lot. In fact, we're going to Spain in T minus, what is today, the 8th, T minus 12 days on the 20th
Wow. Have you ever
for
been?
never been. It's
Wow.
fun now.
Okay.
Never
Okay.
been. So I'm very excited about that. So I had an amazing, I was a gymnast at Auburn, and I had an amazing counselor who told me, look, your scholarship will pay for a fifth year. Why don't we double major in Spanish and you'll have another year just to figure out what you want to do. Let's finish the biomedical science degree. So stayed at Auburn for a fifth year without gymnastics, which was really nice, doing school without gymnastics. My dad passed away of pancreatic cancer my senior year. So I moved home with mom, and I was like, okay, God, I have no idea. What do you want me to do? I was
Yeah.
planning actually to start a Hispanic clinic at St. Joseph's until the whole biomedical thing went downhill. And then I was going to help athletes in action in Mexico because I did a study
Mm,
abroad in Mexico. It's like a Campus Crusade for Christ, but for athletes at the University of New Mexico. And God was like, yeah, you're not going to do that either. So went home, went to some job fairs. People said I would be great at sales. Landed at T-Mobile, did business to business sales for T-Mobile from,
okay.
let's see, that was 2002 to 2006. Got married in 2005, moved to Douglasville with my husband, who is a mortgage industry rock star. And I was like,
Mm,
2 years in, commute 40 miles one way, 2 hours. I said, we're either going to get divorced, we're going to move, or I got to find a new career. And he's like, I
yeah.
like to find a new career option. So I looked at
Okay.
real estate, I looked at insurance, and I looked at the mortgage business because we wanted
Mm,
something where we could share leads back and forth or help each other's businesses grow. And
yeah.
I was like, I cannot be in the mortgage industry with you because I think we'll still end up, option number two, divorced. So I landed on insurance, started at Liberty Mutual, and I could have walked to work. That's how close my office was. So
Okay.
it was like my life changed. Why I landed on insurance, I wanted something where I could, wasn't so corporate, where when I wanted to have children, I didn't have any children at the time. I now have four, where I could come in and out of the business.
Yeah.
The Liberty was really a strategic move to learn the business, get licensed. I still have high respect for Liberty Mutual. I have Safeco in my agency. But they came to me in 2006 when I had, excuse me, I started at Liberty Mutual in 2006. In 2000 8, they came to me and said, "Yeah, we see you've bought a building in the name of Stallings Insurance Agency. That violates our code of ethics. You either have to resign or dissolve the agency." And I was like, "I'm going to phone a friend. I'll be right back." I
Wow.
told my husband, I'm like, "What do I do?" And I was still about a year out from starting my agency. And so they said, I said, "You can't do either." Actually, after talking to David, he's like, "They can't make you do either."
Yeah.
Um, so they were like, "Okay, well, we're going to put you on a leave of absence for a week and talk to HR and figure out
Wow.
what we're going to do with you." So they ended up saying that I violated the code of ethics by starting an agency. And I was like, "I did it, but I don't, you know."
Couldn't that have just
It
been a
was,
corporate name? I mean,
what's that?
and I mean,
Yeah,
couldn't you
just
just been
started.
incorporated? And
Yep.
that's
I
in okay.
incorporated and I licensed the agency, but I didn't have any carriers yet. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
hadn't
yeah.
talked. Yeah, it was crazy. But it
Okay.
was just the push I needed, really.
Yeah, right.
So otherwise, it would have been another year. So I ended up moving in with him in his office, in his mortgage office. He had an open office space, and my mom was living with me at the time. And we just did it. We did
Yeah.
it. We started it and from scratch in 2008, September 25th, 2008. It was the last month that you could do a stated income loan, and all my leads were coming from the mortgage
Yep.
industry. It
Yeah.
was nuts. It was nuts. I lost, a decent amount of referral partners through the process and transition, but a lot of them I was able to get back, but a lot of them, of course, that
Yeah.
recession in 2008, they fizzled the mortgage industry. So I see it happening again. So that's why this is my season. This is when I started my agency. So
Yeah. So
I
you
love
were
a good recession.
that's so interesting. So you were essentially pushed into it.
Yep.
So which is thank you.
You're
Thank you. By
welcome.
the I know, thank you, Liberty Mutual.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
for doing me a
I thought
favor.
you were saying
No.
thank you.
I'll be
No problem. You already said thank
uh
you, Brad.
was that your intention from the beginning though? I mean, you referenced that went to
We
Liberty
wanted
and
a
sound
symbiotic. Yeah, I mean, it
yeah.
was because there was really not. So I interviewed a bunch of insurance people: State Farm, Allstate, bunch of captives, State
Yeah.
Farm, Allstate, Liberty Mutual. Well, my one regret is I do wish I did have a plan to go and work for an independent agent in Douglasville,
Mm.
um, and learn commercial. And I
Yeah.
do regret not doing that because we're so heavy in personal lines. It's just hard to branch over
Yeah.
without buying a commercial book or getting a big commercial producer in here. But we're about to take off because Taylor in my agency, she's about to go full commercial. And I think and then I'm going to hire a life producer too, because those two lines of business I really want to take off. So,
Y- Yeah, and just like anything from what I found, I was the same way. I was a captive agent for a while
mm,
and was all personal. And then when I became independent, that's when I started to explore commercial. And just like anything else, what I found, you just jump in and ask questions.
yeah,
It's
I still do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still don't know everything.
So when you started to go independent, what did that look like in terms of getting markets? Did you find a network to work with, or did you find direct appointments?
I did it all by myself.
Okay,
Basically
okay,
sold myself. The best advice somebody gave me, and this is what I give a lot of people that are starting independent agents, is
mhm,
this is your dream job, getting a carrier appointment. This is your dream job interview. And you just sell yourself and you brag, embellish a little bit,
yeah,
and, just really, and commit to them.
yeah,
For me, it was a true partnership with these carriers. And and I was persistent. I was like, look, this is how I sell. So you're, don't forget the face. I remember telling auto owners that when they
mm,
told me no a million times. I was like, don't
yeah,
forget the face.
yeah. So how many were you able to get right up front?
And well, there's some carriers that'll, if you can fog a mirror, they'll appoint you.
Yeah.
So initially I got 5. I got
Wow. Good.
Progressive, Progressive, Travelers, Farmers at the time, which is not independent anymore.
Yeah.
Grange. So I did actually something neat with Grange. I had a friend whose wife was in the mortgages industry, but he had his own insurance agency, a similar marriage type symbiotic careers, and he let me have a subcode under his code for
Mm,
Grange, and they kind of piloted this program a little bit with us, but or baited it with us. It didn't really go anywhere, but it was really cool because it gave me a chance to write business in my own code, but under his
yeah.
master code, and so that's an option too that I tell people, if you're really struggling to get an appointment with somebody,
Well,
to, offer that. So that was really neat.
that's a really good first start,
Mhm.
I'd say, for having no independent
Yeah.
background. So you must have really sold
Well,
them.
and I did have a book, but I was in a non-compete, so that was tough because I was like, I
Right.
have this book, but it's non-compete. And honestly, when you're a captive agent, you write everything that you can, everything that you get underwriting approval on, you put it in there, and you operate different than that when you have your own agency. You're like, you have your ideal clients, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so let's jump into the video piece. Uh,
okay.
when did this kind of originate? I'm assuming it was your idea.
Yeah. You can tell I'm a very shy person.
Yeah.
I just love video and I love TikTok. And
Yeah.
we've started adding videos to uh, any communication. In fact, this is funny. The other day we had a client that was like, "This is not value add," but it was, you got to meet your clients where they want to be
Yeah.
communicated with, and we're just in this world. We're just trying to connect better. So I've always had the rule during COVID. Zooms on, cameras on. Like I don't want to see some picture of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless unless you're naked, but other than that, like zooms on, cameras on. And so that's kind of just where it started. I think is just we realized that we were really connecting with people, and I was even connecting with my staff. um, and so and I even a lot of times when we get on a Zoom call or any video chat, and somebody doesn't have their camera on, I'm literally like badgering them. I'm like, turn your camera on, I want to see your face. I have no makeup on today, I don't care. I didn't get dressed today, I don't care.
So
Turn
for
your
those
camera on.
that don't know, you absolutely have to check these videos out. Um,
We love
they're I mean, they're basically, music videos, and the whole staff is involved, and there's a choreographed dance, which is super impressive. And I mean, and everybody's in. There's
Yep.
nobody half-assing it. I mean,
No.
everybody's in. And that was what I was curious about was your staff buy-in in the beginning. I mean, because I mean, there's some thought that goes into these, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And were they were did you have everybody on the same page? Are they as outgoing as you, or did you have to kind of twist some arms a little bit?
so first of all, it's optional. I make it optional for them,
Yeah,
but we make it really fun. So you can't help at least come and watch. And so, it does it when you do those, it is a little bit of production. Like somebody's got a video, especially if you're doing transitions and stuff. But they really don't take long anymore. And usually we steal ideas off other people's TikToks, whatever's
yeah,
trending. We'll just grab that and like, hey, we're gonna do this one. Um, so my brand is family faith fun, so we really try and make insurance fun, and then positive, polished, and committed. And a lot of most of my staff, I have a very long interview process. It's about 2 months actually.
mm,
I interview them on the phone, and then I do a few face-to-face interviews, and then they come in and do a full day job shadow. So usually that day we will film a TikTok intentionally to be like, this is what we do, this is part of us, and your faces can be out there in the
yeah,
world.
yep,
But Tony Robbins, I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins too, and getting in state and really just filming videos. It's just fun. Like,
yeah,
and the best way to start is just hit the record button,
yeah,
film something, let somebody else edit it, if you even edit it, and just send it.
yeah,
Oh, another great start too is Snapchat. Like Snapchat your friends and family, like sending videos back and forth because you see your face and it's good practice and you see what camera angles you like and lighting and filters and but that's a good. We have a Snapchat like internally. That's how we communicate after hours is on Snapchat as a team.
at one point, I'm guessing that's your daughter that appeared in
Oh yeah,
one or two of them.
Kennedy.
Also seems like a super shy child.
So tax write-off, all you insurance agency owners, you can pay your children as models. And
Um,
that's what we do. My husband and I pay them as models. So I have to have content with them if I'm going to be justifying this to the IRS if I ever get audited. And so they are, yes, my Kennedy is my mini me. And I was just talking to her the other night. She's the second oldest and she is just like me, looks just like me, acts just like me. We have the same voice. Literally, she's of all four kids, she's my mini me, but loves TikTok. and she's a dancer too. So, and usually after we post a TikTok, the preteens are like, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Whatever.
So I would think this accomplishes two very important things. One is it grabs attention,
Mhm.
which is obviously the intended purpose, and they do because they're so good and so entertaining.
Aw.
Well, and two, um, I think it's just a massive recruiting tool.
Yes.
And so, yes, you grab that attention, but then you have these out here, like who wouldn't want to come and work in this office? I mean, when you first hear the word insurance, that doesn't sound fun, right? Doesn't sound sexy, doesn't sound fun. But when you see this, oh, well, this is a fun group, and no matter what I'm doing, these people have fun and are a good time. So I think that's just going to be massive for your recruiting for the
Oh,
future. So
yeah, it is. And most of our, I have two. I always like to try and have somebody in the hopper, but we're hiring three. We just hired an account manager, and then I have a life producer and a personal lines producer that are probably going to start in January. But yeah, they both were following us on TikTok and Instagram before, and that's how.
well,
I mean, we don't even. I don't use Indeed or any of these
yeah,
job because I just got crap candidates. I'm like, I don't even know you. But social media can be such a great outlet for recruiting for sure.
just as yeah, and as an example, if you and I are both hiring at the same time, and I'm
Mhm.
using myself, um, and they see your videos, I have no chance. It's true.
You
It's
could.
true.
You could
I,
have a chance.
I mean,
That's what people are such big critics of themselves, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't
no,
care.
no, no. I mean, because you're doing that and showing what your culture is about, and I am
Mhm.
not. I mean,
Right.
that's how massively different that is.
It's
Um,
absolutely our culture, and we have so much fun. We spend so much time at work. It should be
yeah,
fun.
you touched on your lengthy interview process. Can you go through that process a little
Yeah,
bit for me? Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So we basically, post on all social media platforms and post enough until we get enough candidates rolling in. And then we kind of let it die down a little bit so that we can review them. And they have to fill out our application on our website. So it makes them go to our website first.
yep,
And Whitney, my account manager or my agency manager, she does the phone interview and then she records it. And so if they make it through that, then I do a phone interview and then we'll do a face to face interview. And sometimes we'll tag team it and sometimes we'll do it separately. It just depends on the candidate.
yeah.
And then after that, if they make it through that process, then my team interviews them.
Mhm.
Basically, is the job shadow day, but it's really my team really interviewing them. And honestly, I haven't somebody that I thought would be great. They come to the job shadow, and my team's like, nope.
Yeah,
Um, or someone I'm like, I'm not sure about this person. My team, was raving about them. So it's really good. It's a full day. It's like 10 or whenever I try and schedule it around them. At least 4 hours in the office, 4 to 5 hours.
okay,
My team member, they bounce around to all the different positions so that they can get a good idea. This is what I'm interviewing you for. However, this is who you're going to be working with and
yeah,
personality wise. And then after that, I have a sales consultant that interviews them, just a unbiased third party. My husband used to interview him, but he's just a little too close, I think, to there's some things that we've discovered in this journey together
yeah,
that there's some things that just he's too close to it sometimes.
yeah.
So and then after that, it's pretty much a deciding factor. So just scheduling all those interviews and we space them out. Oh, we call all of their we make sure we call all their references and get good feedback from them, and then we look them up. We stalk them on social media.
Yeah,
So
right,
after
as you
part of
should.
that job, part of that job shadowing is my staff is trying to get in if their social media is private, they're trying to get in and like
Okay.
friend them and get to know them
Mm.
enough so they'll let them in their social media and so that we can really kind of stalk them there too and dive in.
Uh, I love the idea of a team buy-in. I mean,
Oh,
for most things, for somebody that's going to join your team, obviously, so important. What happens if you feel really, really solid about somebody and your team does not, or maybe even if it's a split on your team?
That actually just happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was a friend's daughter, and
Ooh.
they just didn't. But they brought me their, it's a discussion. They brought me their feedback and why, and I like to hear from everybody on my team. And I was like, those are great points. And then she interviewed with David Hagan, and who's my sales consultant, and he also was like, she's a no for me. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
So I really use, slow to hire. I am just super, and I let them know in the
yeah,
beginning, look, this is probably going to be about a 2-month process. So if you're desperate, we
yeah,
might not be a good fit, but it's good for them too. I don't want to get it. I don't want to go through that process. It's so expensive to hire and
yeah.
train and then be like, oh gosh, this is not good. So I'm really hiring for character. I can teach insurance.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely correct.
Can't
Um,
teach character.
I noticed in doing a little research, you went to the most recent IAOA event.
Mhm.
Any key takeaways from that?
Oh my
Anything
God.
you've been able to implement?
Yes, so much. Can I plug
Yeah,
other companies?
do it.
Will they send me endorsements? Just kidding.
Maybe.
Um, as an ATO podcast influencer, I would like to plug. No, just kidding. Let's see. We have implemented from IAOA Glove Box,
Mm,
Canopy Connect.
yep.
We also were already courting switching from Applied System Epic to QQ Catalyst.
Okay.
Epic is a great system if you're heavy commercial, and we're just not. And we need some open APIs, and we didn't need them like now.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure, just talk to some other people, but that was already kind of happening before. Also, Lightspeed, our phone system, we switched from Bridge to Lightspeed again, we needed some open API and more technology, ease of technology between systems. I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically we give our clients a credit for a driver education class. We pay for it and they get it for free. They take the driver ed class and get the discount on their policy.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of that.
Yeah.
Whitney is the one that's implemented all of these things.
Yeah.
Those are the
You
main ones.
you've done this since October?
Yes.
Wow.
Crazy changes here in our agency. That's why I'm like, what's my name?
How okay, so I've done that in the past, although in my group especially, and I know many others, a little reluctant to change and from adding things. I mean, Canopy Connect's one that's
Easy.
pretty simple, but even that, it takes some to implement it. It takes sometimes to change some of what somebody's process was before to add this to it. What has that been like for your team? Have they jumped on board with utilizing these new tools, or?
They really have. I'd like to see more, especially and I'll be honest, this is our slow season right now. So that's why I really pushed to make these changes right now. And a few others I really want, but I'm just going to hold off for because, again, I'm hesitant with too many changes. But
Yeah, good.
we really, I mean, with having a team lead for technology implementation, and for me, it's been Whitney. Has
Yeah.
been huge. So this time last year, we added Insured Mind, and they've been a really
Mm,
awesome partner and just fun to work with too, and a similar culture. And so they were at IOA, and it just
yeah,
helps when you have your tech stack advises on what they think is the best tech stack for you too.
yeah,
So yes, I always take away one or two things, but this time I came with so much
you
because
did.
so much is changing. And I'll tell you really what happened before
Tell
I
me.
went to AOA. Well, I have to go back a little bit if that's okay.
Yes,
Um,
let's do it.
I'm going to go back to 2020 because it really sets the tone for what happened in August. I got COVID and I didn't know I was autoimmune, and
Mm,
I have an antibody that sits on my red blood cells. Well, COVID triggered my body to eat my red blood.
oh,
And so when I got to the hospital, hemoglobin count is supposed to be 12. Mine was 3.6. I was starting to turn jaundice. I just thought I
yeah,
was dehydrated. Um,
You just
And it
felt
was,
like you thought you're dying?
I was
Oh my
dying.
God. Okay.
Crazy. So I had to get 4 liters of blood and they couldn't find it. I had to have the blood with the antibody on
Oh.
it. It was also right, it was COVID craziness. And it was the day that the George Floyd case aired.
Mm-mm.
So it was not a good day.
No. No.
um, so I was in the hospital for 5 days, couldn't find my blood. I was like, I'm going to die here. Like walls were turning in. And
Mm.
I had some crazy stories one night in the hospital. I was confused, is what they call it when you don't have enough oxygen to your brain. I pulled out, I was mad. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I pulled out all my IVs,
Oh.
stripped down naked, and went streaking in the hospital. I was leaving. I was like, peace out. I don't remember it. They had to sedate me and restrain me with 2 security guards.
Mm.
I really still want to see the footage of this. I really do. So after that, recovered from that. Let's see, that
The
was
only thing that would have been better is if you would have had Stallings insurance on your back. I mean, then
like a tattoo or something.
yes. Okay, I apologize. Go ahead.
So I get out there somehow. They're like,
I
yeah,
mean,
so I was in the hospital for a little while. Anyways, I need some insurance. There was this girl that went
yeah,
streaking. Seems really fun.
looks like a fun company.
So then about 5 months later, my husband gets COVID, goes to our lake house to quarantine, gets so sick that I have to go up there because he's not answering the phone anymore or getting groceries off the porch. I had to have somebody go check on it. So I end up having COVID again, go up there with him and all 4 kids. He's got double pneumonia, almost
Oh.
went on a ventilator, went in the ICU at Emory for 5 days. So both of us, kind of near death experiences. Then I had to have surgery. Then December rolls around, January of 2021, my best friend lost her 13-year-old son to a terminal brain tumor. And so that's the charity you see posted a lot. So it was
Is
like
that Noah?
trauma upon trauma upon trauma upon trauma.
Yeah.
Put me in depression. And I didn't know what depression was. Somebody with my personality doesn't get depressed. Like that's just not,
Yeah.
it's not something I talked about in the South either. We don't talk about postpartum. I also had a baby in 2019 at 40. So I was still going through some postpartum below me too. Telling you that,
Yeah.
Tony Robbins was a big podcaster that I just went to, just like mind over right. I can do this, like drag yourself out of bed. It's like you're telling yourself all these things, but you're like, but I don't want to. It was hard. It was so hard. And I think it's seasonal too, the shorter seasons. So
This
my
is during your
husband,
depression
yes,
okay.
yeah, and Tony Robbins was just great during then.
What length of time roughly was this, that
It
you were
was,
really going through?
honestly, it was really from 2021 to I came out of it probably in June of 2022. Wow. And I didn't want to go on medication. I'm a kind of a granola mama. I had a naturopathic doctor and supplementing, but I was very close on going on to medication. I wasn't suicidal yet, but I was having thoughts like, well, if one of my kids drowns, it'll be less work. Like those aren't normal thoughts.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I am very, mental health is very near and dear to my heart now.
Yeah.
And I'm very sensitive to it. So Tony Robbins opened a studio during COVID because he couldn't have his events during COVID. And our word that we pick a word at the agency every year, and our word every year is thrive. And so that was when I came out of depression in 2022. I was on a train. I was on the channel from London to Paris. And I just started writing about this word and joy. And because joy was my word at home, thrive was our word in the office. And when I get home from our Europe trip where I journaled and just my fog had lifted, I get an ad from Tony Robbins. And it's like, are you looking to thrive in the winter? And I was like, okay, click. And so I filled out this short little form. Well, I went through 3 interviews because apparently his business mastery class, you have to be one of his platinum partners and pay thousands of dollars a year. Well, they had some open spots and I happened to get one of the spots. So I went to his business mastery class by myself, 500 people there. So it was kind of an intimate crew. It was like 250 live, 250 virtual, life changing, Brad. Like It was so magnificent. And, a lot of focus was on the business and whatever
Yeah.
business we're in, but just hearing these stories and these connections that I made down there. And so it's all about state and getting in the right state, which is why I came back and I was like, we're doing videos, we're making changes.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
then I went to IAOA and I was like, oh, I got to make these changes. I know it's
Yeah.
going to be hard and there's going to be a lot, but it was one of the classes at Tony Robbins was what's the chokehold in your business right now. And I was like, my phone system and my management system.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just
So
don't
let's
want to
do it.
switch.
Yeah.
Don't want to switch.
Yeah.
So it was so like everything has been so clear and evident since that, it's been a really cool last 2-3 years, just the journey of through mental health, but also coming out of it and the awakening on the other side.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It really, and especially you coming out a little bit of that process. I'm sure we could dive into that for a long time,
Oh
but
yeah.
no, just to touch on that. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
with the changes, I mean, did you get much pushback from the team? And this is why I ask, because I did the same thing like 2 years ago. I knew that we had these so many of these things that we needed to change,
Mhm.
and and I just decided I'm just gonna do it. It needs to be done, and I know we're gonna go through a little bit of hell, to do it. But and so most of it was what I went through. I got a new website, changed management systems, changed to Lightspeed, added. Well, I can't remember. I added agency Zoom in there at 1.2,
Mhm.
and changed our entire accounting system, which was a little bit different from our team. So it was more all these changes that I went through, but I knew they all needed to be done, so we just did it. And even, I mean, just to give you an example, with my group, awesome team, I love them. They do not like change, and just even when I added Slack, which is simple as that was, and that was even, well before, they're like, "What's this?" Well, I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, look at this GIF. Isn't this fun?" It's the best thing we ever did.
Right?
And it kind of brought us together, and we laughed, and it just added some fun to our group. So I'm sorry. Back
No,
to
you're
you, and,
good.
and your pushback, if there was any
I
pushback in
just,
your group.
I think it's all in the presentation of it. Like,
Yeah.
you guys, if there's anybody on the team that hates change the most, it's me. Literally, it's me. I
Oh,
do have some team members that are like, yay, more change. They literally love it. Like, they need
yeah.
it.
Good.
Um, but for me, I also lost an employee last year. My key employee, that was my nanny, Brad. Like, watched
Oh.
my children. I took her up in a helicopter for her 10-year anniversary and she left me.
Mm.
And now I had made some changes. I had changed our comp plan. That was another big change too. And it's about to change again. And they know it though. I tell them about as soon as I know I'm going to make a change, I tell them.
Yeah.
It's not like
Transparent.
behind the scenes and all the like surprise. I don't do that. I'm like, here's what we're doing. They knew we were hiring 3 employees in 6 months. They
Three
knew
employees in
that
6 months.
our biggest surprise was losing that employee, and it was literally like a death in the agency. Like it's still hard. Like we're still because there wasn't much closure either, and I think that was a hard part. I got to be careful. She might watch this podcast.
That's okay.
Anyway,
Nobody's watching. No.
well, it's recorded, right? So they can watch it later. But I think the buy-in is just being honest.
Yeah.
These are,
Transparent.
yes,
Yeah.
about it all, and then too being like, this is tough. So I'm not on the front lines anymore. I'm not quoting anymore. So a lot of the buy-in is on Whitney and
Yeah.
my agency manager, and that was a great. She came back from maternity leave and was supposed to be a producer, and she came into the agency management role. And it's
Whitney.
been yes,
It
it's been
sounds like she
so.
does a number of things for
Oh
you.
my gosh, she does our social media too. So
What one what I learned
mhm.
from doing all those things at one time, and then we'll move on, is that if I need to put a process in place for anything that I add.
Oh
Otherwise, it's just not going to get implemented.
yes,
You can't just throw it out there and say, let's use this. So even for this year, when I went out to IOA, and I had some things, I knew I wasn't going to add anything because I wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready to put a process in place. But I was looked at Glovebox, and I'm still interested in Glovebox. So Adam, if from Glovebox, if you're watching, I'm still
He's
serious
not.
about it. I just need to put a process in place. Uh, Call me in June. So
I just
um,
did it. You know, some of them were really spontaneous. Like Love Ox was one of those. I was like, I'll look at it. And then I realized what it did. I'm like, what? And Adam's such a good salesman.
yeah, okay,
I'm a
good.
sucker for good salespeople.
Yeah, I know he is good. Okay, so you mentioned your role a little bit, so let's touch on that. How
Yeah.
are you spending your time in the agency?
Well, during that awakening, I really journaled a lot, and I still, it's a work-life balance, right? What is
Yeah,
that? What does that even mean? That's why I started this agency, was for that balance. And then I found myself working all the time. I'm like,
yes,
what am I doing? So, I mean, I'll be honest, the reason I was late for our podcast today was I want to spend a little bit more time with my daughter this morning. We
yeah,
sat in the bathroom on my phone and she wanted to look at baby pictures of herself. I'm like, I can't get this back.
yeah. Who's
And
Brad?
Brad will understand.
Don't even worry about it. He can wait.
So, I get distracted a lot. Let's just start there. I'm a little ADD, ADHD, not undiagnosed,
Okay.
but we have 4 children. I have my husband, who's, bless his heart, he needs a personal assistant, but that's me. Um, and we also have 7 seasonal properties in Gulf Shores, and so that's been a fun little new
You are
business.
kidding me.
Yeah.
I, I'm going down there all of February. So after this, we're gonna have to connect
What?
on that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh, all of February. That's amazing.
yeah.
But that's what I said. I said I'm traveling. So we're going to Spain in December, and then we're going to Tahoe in February, and then we're going to Argentina in March, and then we're going to Israel this summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Life is too short, and we work as Americans, we work too damn much.
Yeah. 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 Good for
So
you.
so that being said, what do I do every day? I don't even know. The stuff that I'm like, I hate doing this. I'm like, who can do this for me?
Yeah.
I even had travelers in here yesterday because long ago, we lost the appointment. That's a whole another story, but
Yeah.
we got it back, and it was a slow process. You know, that's how I interview like I do appointments. Similar, very slow. I want to make sure it's going to be a good fit because I never want that to happen again. So she literally comes to my desk and she's like, "We need to set up all the users." I'm like, "I don't do that." She's like, "Well, I
Yeah.
need you to do that." I'm like,
Mm.
"No." And Whitney was working from home. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Whitney.
"Fine." Man. I was so mad. Because you just get to a point where you're like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is my highest and best use. And this is not what I want to do anymore. So I love doing TikToks. I love
Yeah.
doing videos. I love doing sales training. I love life insurance. I love having the ideas for processes and somebody else go write it and implement it. I love technology, but I don't like coding and behind the scenes stuff. We use Zapier for my husband's leads too.
Yep.
We're trying to get that Zap so that when somebody fills out the loan application, it drops in easy links. So we're still working on that, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really cool.
That you're a visionary. That's the definition of a visionary.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
you have Whitney for everything else. Thank you, Whitney.
thank you, Whitney. And I steal shamelessly from other people. I don't know that I actually am a visionary, Brad, but I like other people's ideas and I like to talk, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to do a better job listening. And so I'm really a collaborator because I just love, and everybody's tech stack and solutions that work in their agency don't always, they're not always going to work for us.
No.
So we've had some stuff that we've tried and it failed.
Yeah. Of course. Who has? I mean, that's how I've learned everything.
Right. Right.
I mean, and yeah. Anyway, enough about me.
I will still try and fail at things. I'm not scared to fail.
No, me neither.
Because I know it's not a personal failure. I know it's just, that didn't work. Oh, well.
Yeah. That's how we learn.
Yes, it is how we learn. Absolutely.
And
So I also love relationships. So referral partners, so I have my hands in a lot of different hats in the agency. I love getting out in the community. So we do a lot of that. And I love my staff. So a lot of it is like around culture and team outings. And yesterday we did, I don't know if you saw on social media, we pampered my husband's, we do their Christmas party. We plan it, we pay for it, we get all the gifts for it. And then we just go and we enjoy it with them, but it's their party.
Right.
And then our parties next week, I take my staff to the jewelry store and I give them all a credit limit at the store and get to shop for jewelry because, men suck at buying women jewelry typically. So
It's true.
And then we don't go and spend money on ourselves on it typically. So, and usually if they're good at it, it's because we're like, we like that, buy that for me. So not to offend you, if you're good at there, you might be good at buying.
I was good at one. I think that's all that mattered.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right. Just one. So anyways, I spend a lot of time on that. Like really, we do incentives in the agency, which we started that this year too. Where it's a whole team incentive. And if we get to the goal, which we're on our second round, we didn't make it the first time. So we're on our second quarter of this incentive. It's called Reach for the Beach. And we go and stay in one of my beach properties. One of them sleeps 18 and it's on the beach and it's fantastic. And
Gulf Shores. Is that right? Wow. Awesome.
So,
I've been sitting here thinking about it, my jewelry purchase, and then I was thinking of the 3 C's, and it's cut, clarity, color, right? Nice. I mean, I know my stuff, and
I did one time.
So I got my wife the color. I can't remember the others, but I know that the color is a D.
It's all about carrot, in my opinion.
And my sister-in-law was like, "You got her a D?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's good, right?" And anyway. So I know what I'm doing.
I don't even know. Is it good? No?
Yeah. I think so.
So I told my husband that, color, I didn't want like some foggy diamond that was brown. But I like the little imperfections in it. I didn't want it perfect. It makes it mine. Mine has a little feather and then like a little line, and you can literally see it with the naked eye. But it makes it mine.
Oh, well, that's nice.
He's amazing.
So you are growing what sounds like very quickly, and you put on I'm sorry, I wrote it down, and I think you put on 3 staff in 6 months. Yeah. That's big time team growth.
Yeah.
So which means you must be generating a lot of business to support that growth. So how are you getting new business? And I know you before we got on, you said your husband's a big shot loan officer, but I'd imagine that market slowed down like most of the rest of the country. Yeah. So how are you generating new business?
We have lots of different things we're doing. I don't buy leads. Let's start there. I hate buying leads. They're crap.
Yeah.
So just a lot of different things. We are working a decent amount on our SEO. We're starting to do a little bit of Facebook retargeting, and there's co-op programs through a lot of our carriers that'll help with that and help pay for that.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to share. I know you mentioned auto owners. Do you have auto owners?
Yes.
Okay. So I just set up, which I think that's, if people don't know about this, they should be taking advantage of it. We've had auto owners co-op dollars for so many years and not able to utilize a lot of it.
Yeah.
That's my own fault. But now you can use it for digital marketing. So we just started that, and I'm absolutely pumped about it. So we literally just started that December 1st.
That's so exciting. I know. I got $8,000 sitting there right now that I got to use. So we do some billboard advertising. Lots of pretty faces. I do a little teeny bit of print media and like local publications. I do stuff like this. Whenever somebody asks me to speak or do anything, I'm like, sure, be happy to. We try and add value to our referral partners. So we try not to just like ask for business, but we'll do continuing educations, go and help them with an open house. There's still lots going on in the mortgage industry. We're still getting lots of leads. But our existing book is what we've really tried to focus on. Take our existing book and just grow it. But also the chamber, commercial. We're starting to ask about commercial. We're finding little niches in commercial. So, and freeing up really one of my producers to focus just on commercial, which is what she's wanted to do for a while, is great. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's huge. So in onboarding 3 employees in a year is a lot. And so, what does that process look like for you guys? Is Whitney handling most of the training, or are you handling a lot of the
Well,
training?
another plug for another vendor, Total CSR handles most
Mm,
of that.
okay.
Total CSR, and then licensing training, and but they've also done. They sit. I like to have everybody try and sit somewhat close to each other. I do offer work from home days. Well, Whitney actually lives in Columbus, Georgia, which is about 2 hours from
Okay.
Douglasville. So she works from home 4 days a week, and then she comes in the office one day a week. But again, because of all of our things and systems, none of our customers know that, and
Yeah.
we still create a lot of cohesiveness on our team just by, like, this morning right before I got on with you, we do a huddle up on Wednesday mornings where we do role playing and we listen to calls, and it's like, okay, that was terrible. Let's do that again. Taylor, you be you, and Whitney, you be the customer, and then everybody role plays at least once. It's 30 minutes, quick and
Okay.
easy, but we learn from each other too. So onboarding is, I don't do any of it anymore, hardly. I'm like, what system am I the only administrator for? It's like two at this point. And so Whitney does a lot of the onboarding, and I have it staggered too. So it's not like all three at once, because I don't think I could handle that. But so
Does
yeah,
any
it's all hands on deck kind of thing. Well, and here's usually when I hire new staff, Brad, we've had in the agency, this will blow your mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
6 babies in 3 years. It is
Six
a staff of
babies,
9.
3 years. So
Isn't that crazy? Six
COVID
babies.
babies.
And I have 2 pregnant. So we're really good at maternity leave. And that's why I started this, and that's what I want to give back to more women. Like, and I call them at 6 weeks. I'm like, are you ready to come back? Yeah, I know you're not. So want 2 more weeks? Is it a pay thing? Okay, I'll pay you for it. Fine. No big deal. Stay home. And then I had one that took three months. I'm like, great.
Uh,
Let's switch you to unlimited vacation and take the 3 months.
I'm
Okay.
gonna guess here that like you guys are
Mhm.
more than a team. You're more like a
Oh my
family.
gosh. We just had our lake weekend last weekend too. Last year it was Mom's Gone Wild. It was bad. It was an insurance nightmare. But this year it was just more tame because we did it in the winter, and it was like a mountain retreat. We did it at
Yeah.
my lake house, but it was too cold to go on the lake. We did like a polar plunge. Some of us
Oh,
did. We went on
yeah.
a jog together. We made ornaments. It's all women, but we invite the women from his team to come too. And but yes, it is. We are a family.
Yeah.
Now I do keep a close. I'm like, I don't want to know that much. Like I do tell, like, I don't want to know that. Please don't tell me that.
Have you
There's been
ran
some
into
things they share with me that I'm like, I cannot and know that about you now. Great.
have you in your career have you ran into any issues with maybe being too close, or that maybe it's posed a problem because you still have to be boss?
Right. Um, so I'm really trying to work on, this is a weird thing to work on, but I can be vague and sugarcoat, especially in the South, because I love my people so much. So that has, yeah, it definitely has burned me when I'm like, um, you
Yeah.
get too close to people and it's just hard to say hard things. But
Yeah.
I love my staff enough. They come to me if I'm having the thought, like, they usually come to me and they're like, I'm so sorry, I did. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah, I was just about to say something, actually. Um, so they usually call themselves out on it before we have another thing that we do on our team.
Yeah.
It's called feedback. And if somebody has a problem with somebody else, because you get all women in here, there's going to be drama, right? And so if it's petty, like, y'all work it out, you're adults.
Yeah.
But they go to each other and they say, hey, hey, Katie, I have this feedback. And usually when somebody says that, you're like, crap, what did I
Yeah.
do? I need you following up on clients quicker. And you can't let this stuff go on this longer. But then you also have to give a resolution.
Yeah.
So you have to say, I need you to follow up on this. and here's what I expect. Um, and usually I don't have to get involved. And if I do, they know.
Do you guys have a regular meeting?
Monday morning. Mhm.
Monday morning. Okay. Every
Monday
morning.
morning, 9:30. Supposed to be an hour, but we run over every week.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know is that your intention to remain entirely women operated?
No, it is
Okay.
really by accident. It's
Yeah.
like, in the dating world, women say, just the right man hasn't come along yet. I'm like, I have a guy that's interviewing right now. I went and ate at a steakhouse a few weeks ago, and his salesmanship was amazing. And we get the check, and it's $1,000. I'm like, what? How did that happen? But he was so good. So he's interviewing right now. Just because, even though I have my candidates, I always just like, if I come across good people, I'm gonna like just keep you in the hopper.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the right man. And my brother-in-law, because I'm going to get to a point here soon where I'm going to need sales manager, customer service manager, and then Whitney will be kind of more COO.
Okay.
So I'm not there yet. You just have to
Yeah.
slowly creep up to
Yeah. You have
those.
to get
But
there.
my brother-in-law is in a similar role at Truist, and when the time's right, I think he'll come and he'll be a perfect service manager
Okay.
for my service team.
What
So,
are some mistakes that you've made as an agency owner along the way?
not mistakes more. I actually have a few regrets. One, that I didn't get involved in the Chamber of Commerce sooner, and
Hmm.
two, that I didn't get involved in Big I sooner.
Okay. Yeah.
So I tell a lot of people that I was also busy having babies.
Yeah.
I also didn't hire. Sometimes you're not ready to hire, and I didn't delegate until I had to. And maternity leave forced me to delegate, and now I'm like, this is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Why did I not do this sooner?
Yes. And as women going on maternity leave, you're forced to do it, which is great. But going on maternity leave 4 times, I came back, and this last time I was like, okay, Whitney, I am not doing this, and this anymore.
What, that first time around, when you went on maternity leave, outside of having your first child,
Yeah.
was that scary to delegate
Oh my
everything? And
gosh.
yeah,
Brad, so my husband looked over at me. I'm in labor, like full blown labor with my first child. He looked over at me and was like, I'm sorry, I need a deck page. I'm like, shit.
no,
I pulled
no
up my
way,
laptop.
no
Yes,
way.
bang out a deck page.
That is an incredible story.
I know, right?
That's
So it was not ideal. And then my mom, it was just me and her at the time. And David's like, I told you should have hired someone. I was like, I thought I could do it. Like, bring the baby in the office. This will be fine.
that story is worse. I learned last Christmas that my aunt, when she was in labor, from what I understand, they're driving to the hospital, and my uncle wanted a hamburger from McDonald's, so he went through the McDonald's drive-through while she was in. And knowing my uncle, yeah, I agree. I believe that story 100 all the way.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, sorry, just get sidetracked. But that's pretty bad that you needed a deck page. Were you in the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But looking back, it was a good little distraction. I'm like, yeah, sure, anything to get my mind
That's
off these labor pains.
that's such a loan officer thing to do. And you know what? He probably could have requested that like a week ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Everything's a
I
rush.
literally was sending emails to all my referral partners. Hey, about to have a baby. Blah blah blah.
David, I'm sorry. That was a cheap shot. I don't even know you. So if I meet you,
No,
I'm going to go ahead and apologize.
well, and he would say, actually, Brad, I told her so. So I told her to hire an employee before.
Okay.
So that's her fault.
Any advice for scratch agents that are early into their career?
I love giving back. So call me. I do. I really love helping other agents start. It's really fun, and it's a great industry too. And I wish more people would get in the insurance industry, because
Yeah.
I think we're struggling based on seeing some of the numbers at IOA. I'm like, oh gosh, we got to recruit some more of these kiddos. But the Big I mean, in Georgia at least, is so phenomenal with new agencies and just going to those conferences. They have usually a YAC conference. At least ours says YAC. They have their big annual conference and then they have a fall conference. They're all wonderful, and you get to know marketing reps there, and also don't join a network, in my opinion,
Yeah,
starting out.
I
I
agree.
I think that's you're giving up so much, especially for coming from like a captive world. I'm like, you're just going captive again. That's what you're doing, joining a network.
Yeah.
I'm a part of a network, but we're not for network access. Um,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
and I didn't join a network. I started in 2008, and I didn't join one until 2011. I had to get to a certain benchmark because they don't appoint scratch agencies. So, um, but yes, join your chamber, join your, and just use your connections.
Yeah. Good advice.
IAOA too is another great
Yeah.
resource that wasn't available. Um,
That is one that's a must join immediately. There's
yeah,
so much incredible, and I was late to the party on that.
I was
Um,
going to too. I mean, well, I guess I've been part of IOA for 4 years, 5 years.
yeah, that's about what I've been. And I had a friend of mine that was in from basically the second year that it was, the first year there was like 25 people, and then he got in the year after that, and he told me about it. And I'm like, you know. You know what I thought it was going to be? I thought it was going to be if you ever went to a continuing ed class and you went and it was a room full of insurance agents, and I was like, ugh, like it made my skin crawl a little bit. And and I'm like, I can't stand.
Oh no, what happened?
Oh, I cut out. Hey,
Yeah, bleep for a bit.
I want to be respectful of your time. You mentioned that people could reach out to you. How
Yeah.
could someone reach or find you if they wanted to get in touch with
Wow, they
Melissa
have to go to
Stallings?
our TikTok page first. No, th- there's millions of ways,
Yeah.
honestly, Brad. It's however they want to, and that's what I tell lots of people. Like, if you like to text, great. If you like to email, great. If you want to call me, excellent. Also,
Whatever.
just have plenty of time.
What would be your preferred way? Email
Um,
or okay.
yeah, just shoot me an email,
Okay.
Melissa@stallingsia.com.
Okay.
Click here. Just kidding. You're like, shoot, now I gotta put a banner on the podcast.
Melissa, I don't know if I can call you Missy yet, but
Yeah. There, Fred. That is totally a joke, by the way. You call me whatever you want to call me. Just no bad words.
Thank you very much for being here.
You're
This was an
welcome. Thanks
absolute
for having me.
blast.
It was
Uh,
actually an honor. I love
yeah,
podcasts.
yeah, you gave so much, and I think people are going to get a lot of value out of this,
Oh, I hope so.
and I had a good time.
Me
So,
too.
thanks again for being here. Everybody else, thank you very much for listening in on another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Melissa. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.